Your Honor, members of the jury, the defendant O.J. Simpson was charged with double homicide and is the prime suspect in the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman under Code 187. Due to this charge, the defendant has entered a plea of 100% not guilty. As the prosecutor's attorney, I will begin my opening statement with the 3 factors we will be discussing during the trial, including the following: the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, evidence indicating the defendant is guilty, and lastly, reasons why the defense thinks O.J. should be acquitted. Your Honor, I would like to call my first witness to the stand. The people call upon Mark Furman. Furman was the detective regarding the murder of Nicole and Ron. The information provided by this witness will be prime evidence on the first section of this trial, the murder. Between 10:15 and 10:40 p.m., 35-year-old Nicole Brown and 25-year-old Ron Goldman were murdered outside of Nicole's Los Angeles home on June 12, 1994. Sprawled on the sidewalk, law enforcement found Nicole's body, which had been stabbed 12 times, and Ron's body, which had been stabbed 25 times. The death of Nicole and Ron soon went under investigation for double homicide. Law enforcement began searching the crime scene for evidence or indicators on the identity of the killer. As stated in the Law Trials of O.J. Simpson, detectives found evidence including a bloody black glove, cotton fiber, a black hat with hair evidence, and DNA or blood evidence. They then began questioning local residents regarding the murder. At 10:54 p.m., citizen Alan Park witnessed a man in all black clothing, estimated 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, walking across the sidewalk of the Simpson residence. Detectives then spotted a white Ford Bronco with blood found both on the inside and outside of the vehicle. After reviewing the evidence and interviewing local residents, law enforcement soon found their prime suspect, O.J. Simpson. Thank you, Mr. Furman. Now that we've discussed the evidence regarding the murder, I would like to call my second witness to the stand. The people call upon Marcia Clarke. Clarke defended the prosecutor in past trials and will provide us with information showing the defendant is guilty. Starting from the beginning, in 1977, O.J. met Nicole, and by 1985, the two got married. And as stated in Britannica, O.J. was accused of domestic violence during and after his and Nicole's marriage. And in 1989, he even pleaded to spousal abuse. In 1992, Nicole filed for divorce and wrote about 60 occasions of horrific abuse she had suffered from her ex-husband. Fast forward to 1994, the night of the murder, O.J. was spotted by citizen Cato Kayleen at 9:46 p.m. wearing a black jumpsuit. And at 10:50, a white Ford Bronco was spotted at the intersection of Bundy and Dorothy with O.J. as the driver. Law enforcement then received the results from the evidence found at the crime scene. They found a single bloody glove, but the right glove, however, was found at O.J. Simpson's residence. The glove found at the scene of the murder also had fibers consistent with those in O.J.'s white Ford Bronco. The cat found at the scene also had hair consistent with O.J.'s. Footprints found at the scene and inside the white Ford Bronco were size 12. O.J. is a size 12. And the most significant evidence is the blood and DNA evidence. The blood found at the location of the murder matched the DNA of Nicole Brown Simpson, Ron Goldman, and O.J. Simpson. O.J. also had fresh cuts on his hands the day after the murder, and law enforcement found bloody black gloves inside O.J.'s home that matched the DNA of Nicole Brown. Law enforcement then sent out a search warrant and the arrest of O.J. Simpson, which led to the nationwide known 90-minute Bronco chase. Thank you, Ms. Clarke. The evidence discussed clearly indicates the defendant's guilt, but I would like to call upon one final witness. The people call upon Robert Kardashian. Robert is not only O.J.'s longtime best friend, but was also one of his lawyers in past trials. Robert will provide us with the information regarding the defendant's innocence. The events which have occurred over recent decades have become a major factor in the evidence regarding the murder. Simpson's defense even stated that the Los Angeles Police Department was racist and allegedly mishandled evidence found at the crime scene. But Mr. Kardashian, how would the department have acquired the defendant's DNA found on the evidence? The case of O.J. Simpson also became majority separated by racial lines. Majority African Americans sided with O.J., while majority white sided against O.J. or with the police department. Besides the current issues regarding racism, the defense also had O.J. try on the gloves found at the scene to validate if they fit or not. Allegedly, they didn't fit, and as stated in Newsweek, the quote by John Cohance, "If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit," became the prime evidence in O.J.'s innocence. The gloves, however, stated by the defendant in his book, If I Did It, stated that they actually shrunk in the sun. Can you explain this, Mr. Kardashian? The public became outraged not only because of how Simpson hypothetically would have committed the murder, but also because he was making profit from the crime. The book soon got canceled and was renamed to If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer. Thank you, Mr. Kardashian. Your Honor, members of the jury, all of the evidence we've discussed today have led us to one of two conclusions. We've went over the murder of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, evidence showing the defendant is guilty, and the defense's counterclaims for the defendant's innocence. Members of the jury, the prosecutor now asks that you return a verdict that the defendant, O.J. Simpson, is guilty of double homicide under Code 187 with special circumstances of torture. Thank you, Your Honor.